The decade between 1840 and 1849 is characterized by numerous events that crossed the life of Don Gaetanino, who became a boy and an adolescent. A privileged source for the knowledge of the events that marked those years and the echo they had in city life is still the chronicle of the anonymous Canicatinese of the Gangitano house.
If 1840 does not record any noteworthy event, 1841 opened instead with the news of the Holy Mission of the Redemptionist Fathers, preached in the city churches, taught several silent spiritual exercises to the different classes of the population. Over a period of about 2 months, which began on February 9th and triumphantly concluded on April 24th.
On October 20th, 1841, the sovereign Ferdinand II and the Queen, visiting Sicily on the way between Girgenti and Caltanissetta, stopped in Canicattì. Their Majesties were welcomed with much jubilation. After receiving the homage of the notables of the city at the main church and having listened to the Holy Mass with the retinue of all the clergy and many gentlemen, they went to lunch at the palace of Baron Bartocelli, a very decent and very sumptuous accommodation, provided for the occasion, and then left the same evening to Caltanissetta.
During 1842, several civil engineering works were started. The road that starting from the San Francesco's convent and passing outside the city through the plain named Le Folche, joined beyond the Cannemasche to the road that comes from Serra di Falco. Today it is Via Vittorio Emanuele. The old bridge in the middle of the square, today it is Piazza 4 Novembre, was demolished and the construction of the new Fontanella Bridge began, which crossed the bed of the valley. The road that leads to the Bottighelle and joins the bridge in the middle of the square was started. The streets from Borgaleno down to the monastery were planned. It is said that they also wanted to build the street from Borgaleno to the large square. Today it is Piazza 4 Novembre, to become passable by carriages, at the expenses of several rich people of the city.
On November 10th, King Ferdinand II passed again through Canicattì. He observed the state of the works of the new bridge in the square, went to the main church to receive the homage of the notables and the holy blessing, and immediately left for Caltanissetta, without stopping in the accommodation prepared for him in the house of Baron Bartocelli, apologizing that he had to get back to Naples to be present to the upcoming birth of Her Majesty the Queen.
In 1843, the adverse climatic events produced heavy repercussions on economic activities, both in March for 20 uninterrupted days of rain which threatened to rot the sound, and in April because the countryside was in the meantime parched. The population gathered in the churches for the Holy Quarantore, and thanks to the prayers made to the Mary Most Holy and to the glorious Protector San Diego, and these with Jesus in the blessed sacrament exposed by God, now we get clear weather, now abundant rain. However, the harvest of all sorts of kinds was sterile.
In 1843, the La Lumia family recorded joy and mourning. Probably in spring, Don Gaetanino received his first Holy Communion. On the 6th September, his older sister, Donna Emanuela Carolina, died at the age of 17. And again, on the 3rd of October, Don Giacinto, at the age of 9 years old, the last born of Donna Eleonora, died.
On 17th of October 1844, the Bishop of Girgenti, Monsignor Domenico Maria Iacono, coming from Palermo, stopped in Canicattì and, after a brief stop, immediately returned to Girgenti with his entourage. A further passing visit will be recorded on the 2nd and the 3rd of September 1845.
On 24th of October 1845, His Majesty, the Tsar of the Russias, Nicholas I, arrived in Palermo, accompanied by his wife, Tsarina Alexandra Fedorovna, his daughter, Grand Duchess Olga, 2 doctors, and a retinue of servicemen. The trip was motivated by the ill health of his wife, who hoped to benefit from the Sicilian climate. In November, the Russian royals were joined by King Ferdinand II, who stayed in Palermo until the departure of the Tsar. On 16th of December, the Empress, her daughter, and all the entourage remained in the capital for a few more months, until 16th of March 1846.
In 1846, a public lighting system was built in the main streets of Canicattì, whose lights were lit from the 16th of January and throughout the month of February. But from March onwards they were no longer lighted up.
As an obligatory crossroads between the capital city of Caltanissetta and Girgenti, Canicattì often hosted famous people. So, on February 7, 1846, Baron Don Gaetano Bartocelli welcomed into his place the plenipotentiary minister of His Majesty the Emperor of all Russians, Baron Megandov Karojé, who, arriving, found the table set and began to have lunch. On May 26, 1846, Cardinal Ferdinando Maria Pignatelli, Archbishop of Palermo, stopping with his entourage in Canicattì on his way back from Girgenti, after going to the main church to receive homage of clergy and to attend to Holy Mass, was welcomed into the house of Salvatore Bordonaro, where there was an excellent lunch.
On June 9, 1846, word spread that Pope Gregory XVI had died in Rome on the 5th of the previous year. The following July 6th, however, came the news that on June 24th the new Roman pontiff, Cardinal Giovanni Maria Mastai Ferretti, had been elected with the name of Pius IX.
On January 20, 1847, the Bishop of Girgenti, Monsignor Domenico Maria Iacono, came on a sacred pastoral visit to Canicattì to perform confirmation and to visit all the city churches and oratories in private homes, and then left for Racalmuto the following February 3rd.
On 25 of June 1847, King Ferdinand II was again in Canicattì, accompanied by his brother Don Francesco di Paola, Count of Trapani, and another entourage. Waiting at the Acqua Nova, where Baron Don Gaetano Bartocelli had a pavilion assembled, they dismounted from the carriage, entered the said pavilion, had a coffee, and then got on a carriage and followed the path to Caltanissetta.
On 30 of October 1847, Don Gaetano's family experienced a moment of joy for the wedding of the older brother, Don Giuseppe, 22 years old, with Donna Rosaria Gangitano.
On December 5, 1847, Don Cesare Gangitano, Baronello Don Francesco Bartocelli and Don Emanuele Lalumia, son of the late Don Niccolò Lalumia and Safonti, who were in the capital for their university studies, returned to Canicattì from Palermo and heard that in the streets they were shouting, "Long live the King, long live Pius IX, long live the Constitution," and fearing that some revolution would break out, they thought of leaving the city and immediately returning to their family.
A month later, on January 12, 1848, on the occasion of the birthday of Ferdinand II in Palermo, the revolution actually broke out. The Sicilians wanted the constitution and independence from Naples. The revolutionary ferments also reached Canicattì, where the population refused to pay the duty on land considered excessive. On February 23, some troubled markets went around holding their rifles, and the first revolutionaries, Don Diego and Alfonso Martinez, showed tricolor cocards on their heads, soon followed by others. The anonymous Canicattinese points out that suddenly the whole population began to stand against His Majesty.
Within a few days, the revolution spread. On January 24, the tricolor flag flied at the top of the municipal clock. On January 29, a revolutionary committee of 26 people from all social classes of the city was elected. Don Giuseppe Bordonaro was the president. Baron Don Gaetano Bartocelli instead became commander of the armed people. On 4th February, some wheat was distributed to the people in need. The tax on ground food was abolished and the 19 detained in the castle prison were freed. On 5 February, the priest Don Vincenzo Camilleri was established as bursar of the Revolutionary Committee, and in the Mere Church the Te Deum was sung and the Holy Blessing given.
The same 5th of February, in Palermo, Ruggero VII, president of the Provisional Committee in the capital, after the capture of the Castello a Mare, the last stronghold of the Napolitan militias, proclaimed the end of the war. The news reached Canicattì on 19th of February, and on 12th of February, in the main church all the city clergy intoned the Te Deum in thanksgiving.
Finally, in March, the Bourbon sovereign granted the Sicilian constitution, and on 11 March, also in Canicattì, all the bells rang in celebration, while many people of this population shouted in the street, "Long life the Pius IX! Long life the Constitution!" And at the sound of trumpets and drums, they toured the whole city. Then, on 15 March, a National Guard is organized, including 518 good citizens, and the representative of the city of Canicattì was established in Baron Don Salvatore Lalumia, who had to take part in the General Council in Palermo.
However, on April 13th in Palermo, the newly formed parliament declares Ferdinand II and his dynasty fallen, and Ruggero VII affirmed that Sicily will be governed by a constitutional government and calling an Italian prince to the throne. In Canicattì, the Te Deum is sung again, but the new state of political uncertainty produces anarchy and favors thefts, murders, kidnappings, and general disorders, for which the anonymous Canicattinese comments, "The criminals and thieves wait and steal a Manfranca, and the glorious saints and all good men are neglected."
The situation didn't last long time. On August 20, the Napolitan's troops, under the command of General Filangieri, Prince of Satriano, set sail from Naples, where from September 3 to 5 Messina was bombed, and conquered. On 11 September, the armistice between Sicily and Naples was declared and negotiations were reopened and lasted all winter. On February 28, 1849, Ferdinand II granted the Sicilians and separated administration under a viceroy, general amnesty and statute based on the Constitution of 1812. But the Sicilian parliament refused the proposal and prepared for open war, calling to arms with forced conscription all men from 18 to 30 years old.
The Bourbon army began to take positions. On April 7, Catania was conquered, followed by the peaceful capitulation of Caltagirone, Piazza Armerina, Augusta, Syracuse, Noto, and many other cities. On April 25, Canicattì also decided to capitulate, sending its own commission to Caltanissetta, where the royal troops were going to arrive soon. Meanwhile, on top of the clock tower and in several private houses, the white flag was hoisted as a sign of peace, and the population praised the Bourbon royal family carrying around the portrait of Ferdinand II. The old order was restored and the administrative offices prior to the revolution was restored.
Finally, on 15 of May, the royal troops occupied Palermo, and the General Filangieri established a general amnesty. On 19th of May, in Canicattì, in the cathedral, the Blessed Sacrament was exposed, and the Te Deum was sung, in gratitude for having entered Palermo the royal troops, and for having taken possession of all the fortresses. Then the holy blessing was given to all those present, while from the churches and the civic tower all the city bells rang in celebration.
Although the tumultuous historical events had involved Canicattì and its population, biographers agree in affirming that Don Gaetanino Lalomia, now a teenager, while taking part in worldly life, did not participate in any way in these revolutionary events, which instead certainly interested many members of his large family. He grew up dignified, immune to the stormy waves of life.